Again, this is a symposium on canopy bridges, cost-effective, underutilized fragmentation solution for arboreal species. And we're going to start with a presentation by Fernanda Teixeira. Are you there, Claire?
Thank you. So I'm really happy to be presenting at this session today that we have Tremaine and Larissa and Fernanda have all been discussing for a while, and the idea of disseminating more the work on canopy bridges. So I will give an overview of a global review that we have been working on, and then we'll have two project-specific presentations, and at the end, Tremaine will finalize with recommendations also related to this global review and also from our experience. So I'm Fernanda, and I will present the preliminary results from the review. Can you see the title of the slide? Not sure if that's showing. There's...
Yeah, we can see the title.
Oh, okay. There was a Zoom part on that. So first, why should we be concerned about canopy bridges and mitigation for arboreal species? Arboreal animals are less recorded most of times as roadkill than larger mammals, larger ground-dwelling and terrestrial mammals. But there is a lot of mortality happening out there on roads on these arboreal species, and also not just road mortality, but also use of power lines and electrocution, other types of impact from lean infrastructure. So canopy bridges have been used as a mitigation measure for quite a while, and but they are still underrepresented in the road ecology literature. So I mentioned they have been used for a while. The first record of a canopy bridge that we are aware of is the Nutty Narrows Bridge in Longview in Washington, and they were installed in 1963, so that's quite a while ago, and they were installed for squirrels to be able to cross the road because they were being road killed. So this was a community concern, and that's our first, like, the kickoff of canopy bridges worldwide. And since then, we have lots of other studies and other projects published and unpublished. And this work that I'm presenting here came about because we wanted to answer, what do we know about canopy bridges? Do they work for each species? Who are using them? Where are they installed worldwide? Where are they being used as a solution for reconnecting the canopy? So before 2021, the peer-reviewed canopy bridge literature was very small. So there's one first study in 1995 and a few other studies, but you can see here never more than 5 studies per year. And some of us got together on a webinar organized by the American Society of Primatology in 2021. And we organized this webinar on canopy bridges and realized there was a need for compiling more information and for disseminating this information. So this amazing team that is highlighted here in pictures worked on a special issue for the International Journal of Primatology that was published in 2022 focused on canopy bridges. And this the idea of this special issue was because there was a low number of studies published, but we were aware that there were a lot of projects implemented in the real world, but they were not being communicated to the scientific and practitioner community elsewhere. So we wanted to change that scenario. So including the special issue, there was a 72% increase in the number of papers, and it was a very that we put a lot of energy to organize that special issue, and especially because a lot of the authors didn't have any scientific publication before, so we put a lot of effort in supporting people and actually incentivizing them to have their results published, because we believe this is really important for communicating and for us to exchange experiences. And when we also look to the gray literature, there are a lot of, like, we almost double the number of publications without considering the special issue, but from peer review publications and gray literature, we have more information. So there's an importance of compiling that information and making it available for decision makers. So because of that, we decided to work on a global review about Canopy Bridges studies. And so we looked into peer review articles, databases, but also on Google Scholar, and looking for gray literature and studies that we were aware of. And we identified 72 unique publications on the topic that were available from 1995 to 2023. And 61 of them described the installation and or monitoring of canopy bridges. And these were for different taxa, so there are bridges focused on primates and other arboreal, but also other arboreal species, and even gliding gliders and gliding mammals. But also there was also the studies recording the use by snakes, so the use of canopy bridges by arboreal snakes, and also by birds. And then birds is more like using as a stopping point than actually crossing over the bridge. And most of the studies are across roads, so canopy bridges that were installed over roads, but also there are some studies across railways and studies using canopy bridges on forest gaps, and also pipelines that are not illustrated here. So the number of studies vary in different regions of the world, but we can see that they are spread worldwide, and we have important experiences in different regions that can help us better understand this context. So here, as an example, a few projects worldwide and the number of studies published per country. We can see we can highlight Australia, that has lots of studies, especially with possums and also glide poles. And also Brazil in South America, that has lots of studies. And in Asia, those are more scattered, but there are a lot of studies in different countries as well. So going to the designs, there are many different designs being implemented, and I will give a quick overview of them. So first, natural canopy bridges are also considered canopy bridges. So when planning a road or other linear infrastructure, taking the care of maintaining canopy connectivity, or actually helping the trees and trimming them so they can regrow and reconnect the canopy when the width of the linear infrastructures allows that. So that's really important and used by lots of animals. Second, glide poles that are installed to allow gliding animals to jump and fly through and glide to the other side, and help them instead of increasing that gap. So trying to diminish that gap, and also on there's like a vegetated median, you can have a pole in the middle. Single line canopy bridges are just one rope, or one rope with another rope around it, or even trunks or bamboo, more rigid structures that have one single line, and animals use them to cross. Double horizontal lines are canopy bridges that have two ropes side by side, and animals sometimes use both of them to balance and move across the gap. And double vertical lines are used instead with two ropes or two connections, one below and one at the top, thinking more about animals with prehensile tails that might need or feel more balanced when they have that support on the top. And ladder and lattice canopy bridge designs are also very common. So with steps made of wood or made of rubber or pipes, and also the two designs below with nets that are horizontal and would provide a base for the animals to move. And also three-dimensional canopy bridges are also installed and used, especially with the concern of animals feeling safer and wanting a protected structure from predators, but sometimes they also cross on the top. So we can discuss more, and the idea is that our recommendations part, we also give recommendations on what animals use more or less. And finally, the rigid designs, also canopy bridges connecting the canopy, but with rigid structures with metal and cement, and that would provide a platform for animals to cross. And I also want to highlight that we found on this in this review a number of experimental studies and also experimental studies that are being, we are aware of experimental studies that are being implemented and they are not yet published. You hear more about it later in this session, but the importance of having these experimental studies and comparing different designs in captivity many times, but also in the real world, so we can make more robust conclusions about animal preferences or about the designs that should be implemented. So to conclude this overview of the results of the global review, although canopy bridges have been implemented worldwide and we have a large number of studies, there's still a lack of dissemination of these studies. So there are many grassroots, this is wrong. So grassroots projects, but also industrial projects. There are a large range of different projects with different budgets. So from like community engagement that the community is installing a canopy bridge, but also large industrial projects on highways, for example. But many of these are unpublished in the gray literature and unpublished as peer review, because many of them don't have this goal of actually sharing the results to a larger community. Sometimes there is like social media posts, but not systematic organization of that information. And this is actually a missed opportunity for us to learn from different projects. So we need, so our goal here is to expand the communication, expand the dissemination about what exists out there and how we can improve this type of mitigation. And finally, there's also a lack of awareness about the importance of this type of mitigation, because the road ecology literature has a bias towards large mammals and ground-dwelling species, and we see them more often as roadkill. So many times there is a wrong conclusion that arboreal animals are not as affected, and they are actually also dying from road mortality. But even when they are not dying from road mortality, we may have a strong barrier effect on these species. So with this, I finished this presentation, and I'm happy to hear any questions if you have. Thank you.
Okay, can you bring the microphone to anyone who has questions here or in the chat? And there's a Slido or one slider, nothing. Okay, nothing on the slide. Okay, what we have here? No.
My question is, are the Canopy Bridge projects usually always implemented in collaboration with like transportation agencies or local government or utility owners, or is it always like done just by NGOs or just other individuals, separate organizations. Did you have a question, sir?
Sorry, I can't hear.
Can
I was texting the tech. Can you repeat?
you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the question was about whether most of these projects are done in connection with the local transport authority from the government, or if they're usually done independently from the government.
The published studies, like the studies included in the review?
Yes.
Yes, there are all sort of studies from, like as I mentioned, like community engagement studies, Canopy Bridge that was built with high school students, and they defined the design and in consultation with engineers, and they built a Canopy Bridge and installed. From NGOs working on the topic with arboreal species and implementing like a series of canopy bridges, to more like official within like the environmental impact assessment or the mitigation project of a road. And this brings also another issue that we have been discussing in the group, that is the importance of making people more aware of this mitigation and improving. So of course, recognizing the community work and NGO work, or I would say more like grassroots work on canopy bridges, but also guaranteeing safety. So in cases where like a community, so if road agencies are aware that this is a mitigation that is important and recognize that in their like let's say mitigation measures manuals or road building manuals, this can be more people can build better canopy bridges, and with approval of and support of road agencies, for example. So not sure if I responded exactly. What was?
I think so, exactly. Okay. I think we need to go to the next speaker, but we'll have more time at the end, I believe, to
Thank you.